Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this news conference by the Innovative Democratic Alliance. Today is a red day letter for the people of Tobago and Trinidad. As today, we launch our two candidates that we know will make a difference to the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. Before I proceed, we believe in God and country, and so at this time, I'd like to invite a member of our executive, Mr. Terence David, to invite the presence of the Lord. Mr. Terence David.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to everyone. Let us reverence God. Almighty God, we call upon you at this time and hour for your guidance and your protection. As we are about to go into this morning conference, dear God, may the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Father, dear God, you promised never to leave us nor forsake us. And as we strive to make Tobago a better place, dear God, we put you in front, behind, and on the side, dear God. May you guide us, dear God. I bring the political lead of this organization before you. I bring the two candidates, the East and the West, before you. May you guide them in the direction that you will want them to go. Father, dear God, take control. These and other mercies I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so very much, Mr. David. Can I ask you all to remain standing as we recognize our country by singing the national anthem? 3, 4. Watch from the love of liberty in the prize of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation, where every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can have your seat. This morning, the pleasure is mine to welcome especially members of the different media houses here to our official launch of our candidates of the IDA. I also want to welcome members of the IDA at all levels, from the executive to the rank and file members. This morning, this organization issues an SOS for the people of Tobago and Trinidad. We must admit that our island and our country is in serious crisis. Some may want to ignore that we are not in crisis, but when we look at the facts, there is no other conclusion that we can come to. We have, as a society, a situation where, most importantly, crime is totally out of control. 2, there is a situation with foreign exchange that baffles the mind of each and every one of us. Our economy is in crisis because there's sure uncertainty with the whole situation about oil and whether we're going to get oil and gas from the arrangement with Venezuela. And even as we face these issues, we must also take into account the world global decision-making as we see it now. Because based on decisions being made by the superpowers, we are not sure where we will be as close as tomorrow. And therefore, it is important for the IDA to put individuals in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago that will be focused on the interests of Tobago and, by extension, save Trinidad. Today, we will reveal to you 2 candidates that will not be bought or sold. We will reveal 2 candidates that is a mixture of youth and experience. We will reveal to you 2 candidates that live in Tobago and understand what Tobagonians experience on a daily basis. And we will disabuse from your mind, as some have said, no one lives there. We are 60,000 strong on this island, and we need to be respected and recognized. So who is to blame for the crisis that we all must admit exists? First of all, I want to ask, when we send people to the Parliament, it is important that they participate in lawmaking that gives you a better life and opportunities as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. For too often, our representatives somehow lose sight that they are servants of the people. In other words, to put it in our language, to put it clearly in our language, they now remember that we send them there. And so they go there belonging to political parties, and they cannot say one thing in the interest of Tobagonians. This must stop. And the IDA starts the journey today, where we must re-educate every Tobagonian, and by extension those in Trinidad, that we put people in the Parliament to represent us, that must report us, that must show why they go there and draw a salary. And yet, most of us live paycheck to paycheck. In Tobago, we say, live hand to mouth. And so our SOS is to bring forth individuals who will not go there to feather the nest, to drive in fancy cars, but individuals who will stand on the door on behalf of Tobagonians. Because as far as the idea is concerned, if one Tobagonian go hungry, all of us should be concerned. And so today, it is important for us to understand that the runaway crime, the lack of forex, and all the issues that makes life difficult for us must be changed. No longer should you, as the electorate, run away with the hype, the big truck, the sudden flow of money at election time. But you must be sober in your thinking. We have seen, even in the Tobago space, that the minute individuals taste power, they become drunk with the power. No longer is it people first, but our politicians are now putting themselves first. And whatever happened with you as the electorate happens, that stops from today. And so I would have said a mouthful already. But before I even call to the podium the individual that will introduce our first candidate for Tobago West, let me take this opportunity to recognize we'll introduce Tobago East first. So even before I do that, let me remember to publicly recognize the Muslim community on the recognition of Eid and the Baptist religion in recognizing the Shouter Baptist Day, holiday. And so, members of the public and the media, we want to let them know that we hold great significance to their holiday and the strive that they made in obtaining such. Right? One other small thing, I will do some housekeeping, is one, our washroom is on my right, the door to my right, and if there's an emergency, God forbid, that we muster out the door that you came in, and we will gather on the other side of the street. All right? So at this time, I will take the opportunity to invite Mr. Sheldon Cunningham to introduce our candidate for the East.
Good morning to everyone. Let me recognize the political leader, Dr. Denise Soyerfat Angus, our chairman, Mr. Terence Holmes, and our two standard bearer. I have the privilege to introduce the first. They say wise men comes from the east. And I have the strong belief that after all these years, it is still a possibility that the wise men come from the east. No offense to my standard bearer candidate from the West. You are also intelligent and wise just as same. It is my great pleasure for me to introduce our standard bearer candidate for the East. When I look at where we are and where we are going, it's a great privilege and honor for me to introduce this young man. When we recognize where economical diversity is going, it's not really about luxury. While tourism remains vital to our development, the time has come for Tobago to lead the way in building new industries rooted in our unique identity, creativity, and talent. Across the world, the entertainment and creative sectors are billion-dollar industries. They fuel economy, shape global culture, and offer young people real opportunities to shine. And here in Tobago, we have that potential. Right here in our communities, right here in our people. On such One such shining example is none other than a friend who I've get to realize from almost 18 years. When I watched this young man from 17 to 18 years using his creativity and talent to give back to the young people of Tobago by using the national instrument. I am so proud to stand here to even say to you, I fully endorse this young man for the Tobago East. Everybody know him as the Pan Man, but he's a proud son of Mason Hall, just as we know our leader from the other side or wherever buried his navel string. We also know Gerald have its same right in Mason Hall. Gerald is indeed a creative cultural artist that stand out among most persons and continue to be brave at it. He continued to stand on many shoulders. He continued to hold the young people in the classroom, tutoring them, getting them to realize that the national instrument is indeed worth using and selling to the people. And let me tell you this, Gerald have never been employed nowhere else, but using that talented gift on that national instrument. We deserve a round of applause for him. Gerald have continued to trailblaze in every way, taking his gigs, making his money. He have been around politics for quite a while. In 2012, Gerald actually was like a right hand to me in politics, going into that dreadful time which I had no thought that I would have been victorious at that election. Mr. Balfour stood with me. And I always look back at those days, and so I'm really proud and happy to welcome the candidate, the winning candidate, the one who holds that fortune to show culture in Tobago. I welcome Mr. Balfour to the podium to address you. Put your hand together as he comes.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here as part of the launch. My name is Gerard Balfour, coming out of the community of Mason Hall. As you all are aware, I have been involved in many activities throughout the island of Tobago, from athletics to football to teaching, producing music, composing songs, even singing. Be it as it may, I've been paying attention not only to the cultural field, but to the general landscape of this island, whether it be social landscape or the political landscape, and the happenings in the Tobago space, some of which directly affects me in the field that I belong, and some of which affects me as a citizen or a resident. Coming up in my career, I started to become a voice on platforms like Facebook and these things. And I had many politicians on both sides of the fence calling me and asking me, why are you telling them this? Why are you telling them that you're supposed to attack the secretary? That made no sense to me, because no matter what an administration come or go, the cycle still remains the same. This drove me to become a more vocal public advocate for growth, development, and sustainability. Now, we know the space that we live in is a politically driven space, so you know I get some blows for it. And the whip of victimization and alienation plastered across my back. I never gave up. In light of this, I made a conscious decision, as everyone should, to now get directly involved in making a change. Now, I know the question that might be burning on the lips of the reporters and everyone else is, why the IDA? Throughout my life, I've been paying attention to all political parties that presenting themselves for over the years, looking at the practices, the habits, the interests, and the intent for us as Tobagonians and for Tobago as part of a greater national economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I see no silver lining. The rate that we are going at, Tobago is in a very terrible state. Look around. Look around and see what's happening. Look at your roads, communities falling apart. Look around. Is this what we deserve? Is this what we deserve? Is this all for the past 20, 25 years? This all Tobago good for? Parties became fostering homes for bacchanal, confusion, feud, and separation. How does that benefit us as a people? Within the last 18 months, the IDA has created a platform for those who are desirous to step into the realm of representation, primarily the youths like myself. And for this is why I stand with the IDA today, because there's no other party. While everybody scamper for votes, the IDA is educating free thinkers, enabling you and educating you that you can go and do your own research. The information is out there. But we're studying party. Enough with the party. It's time to get down to serious business. Tobago business. Gray hair started to grow on my chin. And since I'm small, it's the same thing we're hearing. Auntie, you older than me by a good way, and I sure since you small. It's the same thing you're hearing. So, for me, being supported by the ideologies of the IDA is really to bridge the gap through unbiased communication. Go ask yourself the question, why isn't Tobago benefiting from national initiatives? All because of party and affiliation, corruption. It is time for Tobagonians to place representatives in positions that will bridge that gap, that can get the two entities in this regard, the central government and the Tobago House of Assembly, to communicate and collaborate in the interests, in the best interests of Tobagonians. A primary example, we had a situation fresh on our minds where we had a minister from the central government try to initiate a project which is uplifting to our citizens right here in Tobago. And then we had a secretary come and interrupt that whole procedure. And that is just one example of many times something like this happened. And when these things happen, who are the ones that feel it? Who are the ones that are negatively impacted by these decisions made by our leaders? It's we, the people. We, the people. All it took was basic communication. We are adults. We are adults. All it took was basic communication. On the bright side, this also shows us that there's room for Tobago to get 2 bites of the apple. Through our budget and our Tobago allocation, we can see that there's money within ministries to facilitate development throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Not just Trinidad, throughout Trinidad and Tobago. So this, going forward, is going to be my primary aim once elected. To create that medium of communication to allow Tobagonians to get a fair share of what they rightfully deserve. So as I go forward, you can look forward to hearing me explain more as to how I intend to execute my plans in terms of building that relationship and highlighting to Tobagonians the possibility. It is very much possible. Very, very much possible. The framework is already there. But because of political affiliation and alliances, these are the things that is preventing us as a people from going forward. So, stick with us as we carry on this political campaign. You can look forward for more information, more in-depth information. My name is Gerard Balfour, your candidate for Tobago East. I thank you for listening.
I had to take a second look at Mr. Balfour, you know. Because when I listen to Mr. Balfour, I know that the politics of Tobago will be in good hands. Not only he's a man who makes a living from using his hands, but he is the candidate that will go to the parliament and represent Tobago as an island. And I just want to share with you something, you know, that research has shown he's a skilled pan man. So skilled that he can teach it to others. And he brought to the fore, as one of our major researchers on this island has shown, we just went through Carnival. Every year, foreigners come from far and wide to our country to learn to play the pan, to learn to arrange music, to play in our bands. Anyone here want to hazard a guess as to how much they pay for a license to do that? Everybody comes to Trinidad and Tobago to learn to play the pan, to play pan, to arrange pan, to tune pan for free. But then they go back to their country and far and wide and on the cruise ships and other places to play pan. And as one individual indicated, one gig in some places in the States can pay you as much as $1,000 US for a night work. In our money, the foreign exchange that we can't get, and if you buy from your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, or even foreigners, you will be breaking the law. So I could see Gerard arguing that we have to put some law in place that anybody who comes here to learn to play our pan and to tune pan and to arrange music, there must be a fee. For too long, we as Tobagonians, we know we're giving away everything in it. When people come to visit, your children can't even get meat to eat. They get rice and gravy because the visitor had to get the meat. We had to stop that, you know. The freeness must done. And so I congratulate Mr. Balfour on his presentation here this morning. And I want to tell you, you can look forward to great things from Mr. Balfour. Without much further ado, I now call on Ms. Stacey Herbert to present our second candidate, someone who brings experience to the table. And so I call Ms. Stacey Herbert to present our candidate for Tobago West.
Good morning to everyone in this room, but also good morning to the people outside there in social media land across the world, wherever you are listening and hearing us. We are at a defining moment in the history of our Twin Island Republic. There are external threats that are facing Trinidad and Tobago, from global economic instability to geopolitical pressures. And these things demand that Tobago begins to take serious stock of its future. Because no longer can we wait for decisions to be made for us. We must begin to see for ourselves. And in this moment, we need leadership that is forward-thinking, rooted in service, and equipped with skills of cross-cultural communication, cross-cultural navigation. Because of the future of Tobago will not be shaped only in the national parliament. It will be shaped in regional places and international forums and global partnerships. And because of that, we need a leader who can represent Tobago, not just at home, but also abroad. And that is where Kay Trotman comes in. Because Kay is a seasoned entrepreneur, she's an empowerment advocate and business development strategist. She has over 30 years of experience in this space. She has a bachelor's degree in management studies from the University of the West Indies and graduate studies with an international MBA at Arthur Lockjack. She has also built and led a family-owned tourism business that reflects the best of Tobago hospitality. I'm quite sure many of you know about Native Abode. That is Kay. She is also the head of the Bed and Breakfast Association in Tobago. Kay is a businesswoman. But Kay, in all of that, she has trained small business owners and partnered with financial institutions, shaped policies to make entrepreneurship accessible to all. And through her work with grassroots NGOs and public agencies, she has shown what it means to lead with purpose and to serve with heart. And at this moment, Tobago must reassert its relevance, secure its economic space, and build meaningful partnerships across the world. And we need a leader who could navigate this. Because we need people who can negotiate at the table, who could mobilize our communities and translate that vision into action. And that is why Kay Trotman is the ideal candidate for Tobago West and the right leader for us at this time. And that is why I, Stacey Herbert, born and bred resident from Bukumong, Pleasant area, am endorsing Kay Trotman as the leader that we need to step into the space where we are at this time. So now I invite Kay Trotman to come to the podium to speak with you. Kay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Herbert. I must say good morning to my fellow Tobagonians, good morning to the members of the media, and good morning to all who are looking on to us from across Tobago and beyond. I am Kay Wendy Ann Trotman, coming out of the village of Bonaccord. And today I stand before you not just as the IDA's candidate for Tobago West, but as a proud Tobagonian, as a woman who has lived the struggles of many Tobagonians, and therefore one who understands what it takes to push forward in the face of hard times and in the face of difficulties. This upcoming election is not just another political contest. I want us to understand that. This election is a battle for Tobago's future. And that is why I am stepping forward under the banner of the IDA, issuing an SOS. a clarion call for us to save our space and save ourselves. Now, it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said, and I will paraphrase it, that a people who do not feel that they belong in a society because they have no stake in it, they will tear it down. And we are seeing that we are building a society in Trinidad and Tobago with a large amount of persons who believe they don't have a stake. They don't have access. And therefore, we are seeing the result of that. We're seeing the increase in crime. We are seeing the widespread social disorder. We're feeling the indifference. We're seeing the general lack of concern, the apathy. People don't want to participate in this solemn, sober duty we have to determine our future by voting. Recognizing that this year is 100 years since the process of voting, that democratic process, has been occurring in Trinidad and Tobago. And yet at this time, as you move around on the ground, there are people who say, I'm not getting involved. Things ain't gonna change. I want to say to us as Tobagonians, we cannot throw our hands up in the air. It is time for us to take back the power into our own hands. For years, Tobago has been sidelined, we have been ignored, and we have been given a whole heap of empty promises. We have stood by and watched and let others dictate the pace for us. But in this election, we are going to be taking back control. Not just of representation in the parliament, you know, but we're going to be taking back control over our destiny as a people. I wonder how many of us are observing what is happening beyond our shores, and that there's troubling times ahead for the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's just look at the US policies that threaten Caribbean economies. A 25% tariff on nations doing business with Venezuela. And let me tell you, that puts our Dragon gas deal at risk. And despite the assurances that our current Prime Minister is trying to give to us, we were already told that if that deal doesn't go through, we cuckoo, well cook. So I want that to sink in. When we see the erratic behaviors of foreign powers, they can promise us something now, but that can soon and quickly change. The US is also moving to sanction nations who are dealing with Cuba under the guise of human trafficking violation. What does that say about our health sector that employs our brethren out of Cuba? Where does that leave us? But apart from the negatives, we are also seeing some positive trends. We are observing a growing interest of African Caribbean cooperation. Many see us as the sixth region of Africa, so to speak. And we are seeing that there are missions between Africa and the Caribbean, and that they hold great possibilities. At this time, we need leadership who are willing to explore those opportunities. So our general election is not just about what happens in the Tobago space or in the Trinidad space, as my colleague, Mr. Balfour, said. It's about what is also happening on the global landscape, over which we have no control, but can shape our very existence. And that is why it is so important for us here in Trinidad and Tobago to make sure that we have a relationship between the two partners, Tobago and the Trinidad, that ensures that as a nation, we are positioned properly to take advantage of what possibilities there are on the global landscape, but also to protect our interests. We do not have the luxury of arguing between ourselves if we are to survive with the global threats that face us. So our general election demands leaders who understand these issues and are prepared to engage all stakeholders, despite our differences, to protect our interests. We must raise the level of discussion. We must leave behind the gutter talk. We must leave behind the character assassinations, the empty promises, and we must engage our people in productive conversation. We must engage our people in the kinds of conversation that allows us to think, to truly think beyond the colors that we represent. And that's why I'm here. I have stepped forward to stand up for Tobago, to stand up for the people of Tobago, and to stand up for Trinidad and Tobago. Because in this fight, it is not just about Tobago's insular, turned-in interests. It's about the interests of all of us as Trinbagonians. I remember an admonition from someone who I like to consider an elder in the Tobago space. That person is Miss Lloyd Solomon. And the advice that she gives to students, you know what she tells them when she speaks to them? Remember, the education that you are benefiting from was paid for by hard-earned taxpayers' dollars. And therefore, you owe it to those who come after you to make sure they can enjoy the same benefits that you have experienced. Therefore, you should not sit on your accomplishments. You must ensure that you pay it forward to others. In other words, she's telling me, don't think about what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. And that is where we are in this defining moment for Tobago and for Trinidad and in this election. Let's not just think about what we want the country to do for us, but what we can do for our country so that it can do something for us. That's where we are. I am not a career politician. I come from a Tobago background where hard work, perseverance, and I would want to say sacrifice define our lives. As a teenager, when my mother, who was a single mother, decided to leave our shores to find work to support our family, I became caretaker for my siblings because I was the eldest. And that experience taught me resilience, never to give up. It taught me discipline, and it taught me the importance of making hard decisions, tough choices. I didn't have the luxury to remain idle. I didn't have the luxury to lie on the block, because I had to step up and take responsibility for my life and the life of my siblings. And step up I did. But you know, for that, some may think I'm a little bit elitist because I didn't line on the block. But I made a sacrifice because others depended on me. And that is what we have to do now. We have to make a sacrifice, this generation, because others, like my youthful colleague, they depend on us. Our children depend on us. Our grandchildren depend on us. And therefore, we need to step up our games. This generation, we need to step up our games. We cannot be bogged down with the colors that we represent to the extent that we do not see that we are called to serve a country and serve a people, not just for the now, but for going forward. As a businesswoman, as a community leader, and as an advocate for empowerment, I have worked to uplift others. I've worked with individuals to set up their micro businesses, their small businesses. I've worked with church groups to do the same, with NGOs to do the same. I've worked with civil society to protect our natural resources. All of this aimed at building a better Tobago. I've also worked tirelessly with the tourism industry because I believe tourism as a major pillar, like the creative industries, we need to breathe fresh life, fresh hope, reimagine, build it on a platform that truly serves our communities so that we can develop community economies that work for us. So, our focus is not just about what the country is doing for us. Our focus is about what we're doing for our country. And I'm reiterating that because I want it to be drilled into us during this time of election that we have a responsibility to build a Tobago, to build a Trinidad and Tobago that truly works for all. I have seen the barriers that blocks Tobago's progress, the lack of opportunities, the struggling economy, the political games that prioritize party loyalty over people's needs. And I refuse to accept that this is the best we can do. I refuse to accept that young people have to leave our shores in order to find opportunities. And I refuse to accept that our economy must remain dependent on handouts and tokens from Trinidad. And that is why I am appealing to my fellow Tobagonians that we need to step up our game. I believe in our people. I believe in Tobagonians. I believe that we can liberate ourselves out of the mess that we are currently in. And that is why I am calling on us at this point in time to choose a party, choose candidates that will indeed focus on building an economy that works, providing opportunities that benefits all, and ensure that we are positioned to respond to the global challenges we would face as a nation. We cannot afford another 5 years of inactivity. So I say to us, Tobago, this is our SOS moment. This is our moment to save our space and save ourselves. And as we observe Eid and we celebrate Spiritual Baptist Liberation Day, let us draw from the inspiration of these communities. Let us focus on bringing back light to this nation. And let us learn from the journey of the Spiritual Baptist community, whose victory in the fight for recognition was not just handed to them, because to them, surrender was not an option and giving up was not a choice. So let us commit ourselves to uplifting each other, to build a Tobago and a Trinidad and Tobago that works for all. Tobago, our vote is our power. And I believe that in this election, you, Tobago, will make the right choice. You will vote for bold, innovative, and accountable leadership. You will vote for true representation in the Parliament. You will vote for Kay Trotman for Tobago West. You will vote for Gerard Balfour for Tobago East. You will vote for IDA for Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Tobagonians, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I listened to Kay, there was so much emotions in me. I heard a little of Mia Motley. I heard somebody who understands what Tobagonians face on a daily basis. I heard about critical thinking. I heard about the participatory approach to governance, that people feel that they are part of the decision-making process, that so often eludes most Tobagonians. People say, take that. Political parties say, take that. And then we send along two representatives that when they say, hush them out, they have to hush them out. And they know that, you know. But they will come to tell you, give me a next chance, put me back there, so we could be comfortable while you suffer. The IDA believes that as we change the structure of governance in this country, that your community councils must become the first line of governance. We, the people in every community, must feel part of the decision-making process. And ladies and gentlemen, this was just a tip of the rescue mission today. What you heard here will be expanded until we get every man, woman, and child of Tobago and Trinidad to think critically why they're voting for an individual to put them in the parliament. Not because they look nice or they dress nice, but they must be able to articulate themselves like Gerard Balfour and Kay Trotman. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a snippet of what the IDA is all about. As Kay said, it is not about the hype. It's not about the gutter politics where you bad talk somebody. It's not about infighting. It is not about Trinidad and Tobago moving from a democracy to a kingdom. For those who are observant, you will realize that a man took off a crown recently and put it on another man's head. And we had nothing to say, no. And if you listen to the media, you will realize the prince that was recently crowned king is now bad talking the king. Where was there before? Say he had to introduce a division of efficiency. But he was right there, having the air of the same king before, who resigned. So God forbid that we are not paying attention to what is happening in this country. And God forbid the water, the ship is already underwater. If we're not careful, some of our people have already drowned. And if we had any respect for Tobagonians who had Tobago at heart, like the late Hochoy Charles, we'll realize that we cannot vote for none of the incumbents, whether it's in the government or in the THE. And so at this time, it is important for us to bring to this podium the person who has worked tirelessly to make a difference to this island of Tobago and Trinidad. I will want to say to you that this is an individual who could have sat back and be very comfortable into her golden years. But this is a Tobagonian who have Tobago at heart. And until God calls, God forbid, she is going to do everything possible to bring about a positive change for the people of Tobago. So some may consider her chief cook, bottle washer, and everything. But I tell you what, you must remember. If Tobagonians show love for each other, you will develop what you call succession planning. Something that you will not hear from other political parties. Because as far as they're concerned, it is about themselves. Succession planning is because you know that someday you will step off the stage and somebody else will take charge. So you prepare others to succeed. At this time, I call to the podium the political leader of the IDA, a simple mother, wife, a committed Tobagonian, a doctor, and someone who believes that nothing is too much to give to the people of Tobago and Trinidad. I call on Dr. Denise Soyafat Angus to speak to us as we go forward as a political organization.
So, a pleasant, is it good morning or good afternoon? No, good afternoon to everyone. And let me acknowledge the executive members, supporters, well-wishers, all of those who are online on social media, and the media who has come out in their numbers today to capture this very special moment in our history. Thank you. And I go further to thank my hard-working executive, because without them, we would not be here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. I want to thank all those sponsors in the business sector in Tobago, persons who have just given what they could because times are hard. But you know what? They're still giving a little something because they believe in what we have to offer. They believe that with somebody from private sector at the helm of the IDA, with two candidates who work in private sector, that we would understand the challenges out there and be able to make better policies, contribute to making better lawmaking on their behalf. So I want to thank the sponsors for doing whatever they can. And I want to thank the communities who worked with us to ensure they shared openly about what they wanted to see for Tobago, what they want to see in the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago, and what they want to see in representatives, because what they wanted to see was more than a hamper moment every few months. So thank you to the communities who openly shared with us what's on your minds. And there's a special person who I want to thank, who has given of his time, given of his knowledge to train and to improve and to prepare our representatives or candidates to boost their capacity to ensure that when they get to where they are going, to Parliament and even to the THA, that our candidates are prepared to take office and to take Tobago out of the crisis that we are in, and even to lead Trinidad out of that crisis. Thank you, Dr. Vanus James. And so today marks a very long-awaited moment, a very anticipated moment, the moment where we finally introduced officially our candidates to the public. But let me tell you, I say it officially because the truth is they have been out there meeting the people in communities. Yeah, we have a saying, we go for the heart over the hype. So they have been out there doing the work, meeting with people, getting feedback. And so today, officially, we are here. I know that many of you looked forward to it last Tuesday, but we all know how that went, and we are here today. And so they've been, like I said, out there meeting with families, you know, listening and learning and introducing themselves, two remarkable individuals that we have. And everywhere they went, the response was warmth, excitement, and a powerful sense of connection. Because the idea, we believe, that no decision should be made without the people. And every journey must start in the communities. So over the past week, and across Tobago, at every announcement, the questions poured in. So, who the idea is sending? When all you're going to do it? And our response has been, don't worry. The moment would be well worth the wait. And well, after hearing them today, I sat there and my heart felt full. I felt proud, you know, because after listening to them, seeing their presence, I'm already seeing them in Parliament. Would you agree? And like we say, every minute was worth the wait. As a Tobagonian, as a citizen of this country, as a mother, as political leader of the Innovative Democratic Alliance, I proudly present the twin candidates for the nation. These are not just two names on a ballot box. These are two leaders whose lives reflect the heartbeat of this island, and I dare say the country, because we are half the country. Gerard Balfour for Tobago East, young, boldly innovative and grounded. Kay Trotman for Tobago West, experienced, visionary, and skilled at bridging cultures, communities, both locally and globally. She understands the fight that's taking place is not just in Tobago or Trinidad, but globally. And if we understand that on this island, like she said, it's time we start saving our space, saving ourselves, and leading the rest of the nation out of this crisis that we are headed into. And so we didn't just choose two people who wanted to run in a race. We chose a balance of male and female, of youthful energy and seasoned wisdom, of academic depth and creative vision. because Tobago deserves leadership that looks, sounds, and thinks like all of us. When you see them, you must be able to see yourselves. They are not above the people. They are of the people. And what do they have in common? They're entrepreneurs, builders, doers, leaders grounded in real life experiences. And right now, they're united in one mission, a rescue mission. They have to save our space, SOS. Because when it comes to rescuing Tobago, the idea is the only choice. The only team bold enough, balanced enough, and ready enough to lead us forward. They heard your crying. We heard your bawling. From the single parent stretching every dollar, to the young graduate who still can't find a job, a first chance at work. From the contractor owed for work completed years ago and can't wait till the THA bell ring. To the business owners watching deals fall apart because they cannot get foreign exchange. From the working class offered 4% scrums, like we have to call it, and expected to be grateful, while the leaders gave themselves 40%. To the tourism workers, investors, and creatives, all trying to plan for a future built on quicksand. And to the everyday person, you listening now, you've grown weary of the wait, weary of the same games, weary of the steady decline in your quality of life. We hear you, we see you, and we say with full conviction, SOS, it's time to save our space. Because this is no longer about politics as usual. This is about survival. It's about dignity. It's about a people tired of standing in line for basic needs while watching those in power walk away with golden handshake and feathered nests. It's about finally demanding better and getting it. And that's why Gerard and Kay are not just candidates. They are the champions of a new era. Not selected by party elites behind closed doors, but chosen by communities, endorsed by the people, and ready to lead with courage. They are not just candidates, they are commanders of this rescue mission. The campaign is not about popularity, it's about survival. And this is a call to all Tobagonians. This is our space. We must save it. Hashtag SOS. And why? Because we live here. We raise our children here. We dream here. And so it's on us to defend our land, the land that we love. It's time to save our space. This election is no ordinary election. This should not be about loyalty to a name or nostalgia for the past. Because while your grandmother may have voted one way back then, life now is very different. And if the world has changed, if the challenges have multiplied, if the stakes are higher than ever, then the way we choose our leaders must also change. We need to stop voting by memory and start voting by mindfulness, not by tradition, but by truth. This moment calls for a new analysis a fresh lens. It calls for leaders built for this time, leaders with integrity, insight, and courage, leaders like Kay and Gerard, who both carry the fire of urgency and the wisdom of preparation. Leaders who are not here to play politics, but rescue this island and by extension, this nation. This moment is also a signal, a national distress call that we say loudly, boldly, and urgently, SOS, it's time to save our space. We can no longer wait for someone to come and fix it. 60,000 strong in Tobago, we have the power to rescue ourselves. And so as this journey begins, I want to say to them directly, this road will not be easy, but it will be worthwhile, because the work of restoring power to the people, power into the hands of the people, that is the true essence of democracy. And so as we talk about democracy, I want us to go back to the dictionary of what really democracy is, because we all throw the word around. But have we gone back to the dictionary recently to truly understand what democracy is about? Democracy is a system of governance where power belongs to the people. A system where citizens don't just have the right to vote, but have a responsibility to choose the leaders. Leaders who shape the laws and to hold, they also have the responsibility to hold governments accountable. So it means that you get to choose your leaders without fear, bribery, or pressure. You can speak out and question authority and access the facts. That's what we're supposed to be doing in a democratic system. That everyone, including the government, supposed to follow the laws. And every voice matters, no matter your status, your last name, or what color shirt you wear. And most importantly, leaders must explain their decisions and face the consequences when they fail. Now that's in the book. I didn't make it up. That's in your dictionaries. So let's ask, do you really think we live in a democracy after listening to all that? How many of you have been threatened and are talking to all those on social media now? How many of you getting threatened with losing your job if you attend the wrong political rally? Or you were threatened that if you don't attend what is considered to be the rally of the day, that you also will lose your job? How many have been bribed with hampers, last-minute jobs, and envelopes with T-shirts? Is that democracy? Can you really speak out and question your leaders without consequences? I know of people who question their leaders and all of a sudden their contract came up for renewal and it was not renewed. Have you ever lost a job or been denied an opportunity simply because you weren't wearing the ruling party's color? Well, I know hundreds of Tobagonians in the last 3 years have lost their jobs because they weren't wearing the right party color. Let's continue talking facts. Did our government really explain to the public why hard-working people could not get their 4% while they gave themselves 40%, other than saying they work hard for the money? So what? Working class don't work hard for the money too? Okay. Did they ask your permission even before giving themselves a raise? than one man who comes out saying, well, the cabinet has decided we are taking the raise. It didn't even get to Parliament yet, eh? Were you consulted before a new prime minister was installed overnight, like shuffling a deck of cards? So I ask you again, do we live in a democracy? Many of you may say no, because you feel like the government has taken away your power. But I want to challenge you with that. Because whilst the system is broken, it's not dead. And here's the truth. They didn't take away our powers. We gave away the power. And when we recognize that we gave away the power, then we know what to do to take back that power. We allow them to convince us that the only time we have power is on election day, and then nothing happens after that. They don't even come back to talk to you about, what laws they are making in Parliament. When last you see a representative actually discuss with you what are the laws they are making in Parliament, how it impacts you, and what you have to say about it. Instead, what they do is bring some hampers every few months, and we think that is representation. It's not, and that is not democracy. But democracy, I remind you, it doesn't end at the ballot box. It's the beginning. And so, for those of you who continue to say, me voting now, I'm saying to you, voting is not just a right that people fought for hundreds of years ago. Voting is a responsibility. You have a responsibility to choose the right leaders for the right time. And sometimes that goes beyond party politics. And I'm saying to you that when the IDA is in office, and if the IDA start to be badly behaved like all these others we've seen here, then I, Denise Sawyer-Fat Angus, political leader, giving you the permission to take us out just the same way as you're going to take out the PNM and the TPP out of office this coming election. So, the people of Trinidad and the people of Tobago, I want to re-emphasize, sitting this one out is not an option. Fence sitting is not an option. Loyalty without performance is not leadership. It is time for us to truly evaluate the work that these two incumbents are doing. Look at their track records, look at the results, and not the rhetoric. And I'm calling on the two incumbents. Some people may say, but THA election ain't called yet. No, it ain't called yet. But the incumbent in Tobago is putting forward 2 representatives to go to Parliament. And if you can't even manage Tobago business, where you're sending 2 representatives to Parliament to do? So, if we are honest after the assessment I'm going to go through, we will all agree that the ship is sinking. And at this point, when a ship is sinking, you need all hands on deck. And if the bucket you're accustomed to using have holes in it, then you need a new bucket. So supporting a party is your choice. But when the country is in the worst state in decades, you cannot put party over the well-being of a nation. You cannot put party over the survival of future generations or over the quality of life of you and your children. Because the people we elect, they're not supposed to be serving themselves. They're supposed to pass the laws that reflect your will. Implement policies that improve your life. Work for you, not for a party, not for personal gain. Too often, representatives go to Trinidad and forget it's the people who send them there. They think it's the party and the leader who send them there. How many fingers the leader have to vote? 1. How many votes did they get? Thousands out of all of you. So you don't think you are their bosses? How did they figure out that the leader in Trinidad is their boss? Why? Because the leader in Trinidad gave them a sweet position. Yeah? And in order to hold that position, they have to put you aside and follow the leader. Time for those days over. Right? Because the system is failing. It's not working. There's supposed to be a partnership with the people, with the government to have a good economy. That's not happening. Only the government trying to work with the economy and leaving the people aside. And we see where that system is failing. And we see where the incumbents, their way of being, their process, and both of them is the same, that their leadership is eroding the democratic process. And in Trinidad, furthermore, they are placing appointed leaders into power without being elected. They make closed-door decisions. They shut out the people and erase accountability. Yeah? Instead of accounting for the 3 billion that went missing, what did they do? Take the Auditor General to court. Come on. The same explanations that you're giving now, you could have given then. But instead, you're big and you're bad, you decide, take the Auditor General to court and embarrass us on the worldwide stage. So, when democracy becomes a performance instead of participation, people lose power. But this election is about taking back the power. So in order to decide how to vote, we must do an honest assessment of the performance of those that you gave the job 10 years ago and 5 years ago. So yes, there's a general election and the THA comes afterwards. Okay? But we are going to assess both of them together. So, when we start viewing elections like this, like performance evaluations, it will be the first time this country realizes real progress. It will be the first time you feel it in your pocket, in your communities, in the quality of lives that we live. Let's put old talk and party colors aside for a minute, because at this point, everybody knows, whether they're saying it loud or they're whispering it behind closed doors, the country is in a mess, it is in a crisis. And I say whispering because there are plenty PNM people whispering behind closed doors, plenty Tobagonians disappointed in the TPP administration. And yes, many of their supporters too are quickly admitting that. The truth is, we are all seeing it and we have the evidence to prove it. The ship is sinking, people bawling, people crying, SOS, and the captain pick up his Georgie bag and go on home. So let's take a moment to examine the holes he left behind in the bucket that can't even dish out the water fast enough to save the boat. Trinidad is still too dependent on the energy sector. An energy sector that is now in crisis. Local energy supplies are low. We hear Kay talk about the Dragon Gas deal, which this government pegged the future of our country for 2027 budget on that Dragon Gas deal. Go back. Imbert said it in Parliament that things will be better in 2027 because the Dragon Gas deal is coming online and we would get a windfall. Now we have to deal with uncertainty over that deal, especially given the new administration that they have in America. Oil prices are down, way below budget targets. Last November 2024, the barrel was $69 US, when the government budgeted for this country at $78, right? Yeah, in February it went up to 73, but we're still below target. So you can understand why we're increasing our debts as we go along. This government going to leave us in huge debt. I see Jamaica has started to decrease their debts. Maybe they need to consult with the Prime Minister over there. Gas prices tell the same story. And if Trump has his way, flooding the markets with oil and gas to suppress prices, and with the Dragon deal flopping, as Kay rightfully say, all you see how we cuckoo getting cooked even more. We are living in a forex exchange crisis that is not just a blip, it's becoming chronic now. Imagine, even if you had US dollars in your account, you cannot go to the bank today and say, I want to take out 2,000 US dollars. They will look at you as if you're crazy. Now, mind you, this is your own US dollars you put in the bank, eh? And you cannot go and just take it out whenever you want it at any time. You can't even buy from your friends, because remember now that is some kind of law, right? You can't buy from visitors, okay? And if you don't know someone in high places, you're out of luck. Yeah, Papo smoke your out. And no doubt, this is why the business sector reported, declining sales and poor, business for the Christmas season. And that is a red flag to really how our economy is doing. The economy is now dangerously close to being able to not being able to afford the imports that we need for survival, whether for investment, consumption, or government operations. Import prices remain high, and to make matters worse and embarrassing, the Minister of Finance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines had to publicly talk about us in their parliament, that we not paying our bills to their agricultural people who trafficking down here, because why? We have no forex to pay them. Now, he talking that in a parliament. That's embarrassing to our country. That is embarrassing. Why? Why? So let that sink in. Others are talking about our economic collapse in their parliaments. And is the government giving you the real information? I don't think so, They kind of gloss it over sometimes. But the GDP in 2024 declined by 5.2% from 30.05 billion in 2022 to 28.49 billion in 2024. They didn't have to tell you though, because you felt it. You felt it with the bills. You felt it in your kitchen cupboards, in your daily hustle. but you had no explanation as to why life seemed to be getting so hard all of a sudden. And with all the external threats to our economy, with the tariffs and everything that they're putting on us from, you know where, it's going to get worse. But Tobago is even worse. Imagine, Tobago is worse than what they're dealing with at the national level. And I'll show you. Our GDP declined from 251 million in 2021 to 248 million in 2023. And that's a steady erosion of your purchasing power, your ability to provide for your family, and your opportunities to grow. Almost every major sector declined. The agriculture, we see a decline in root crops, 42.3%. I see that they had some big function the other day on root crops. Let's see if they could bring it back in 9 months. Yeah? No, it's less than 9 months they have. But 42.3% decline under them, and we're talking Tobago here with the current administration. A 57% decline in egg production. Eggs? We're not producing eggs on the island. Decline in fish harvesting. You know what that means? That very soon we can't even feed ourselves. Further, construction and quarrying declined. Outside of the highway to nowhere that they were building to the airport, which didn't leave any money in Tobago space, in the Tobago space, there's really been no major construction on the island. And that is absolutely needed for the Tobago economy. Transport, storage, and communication declined by 21%. Public transport declined by 130%. Barely functioning. Business services fell by 6.2%. How many businesses had to close their doors? Just look at how many businesses that they took off the Companies Act. And more other sectors followed suit. Pair all that with an inflation rate of 6.2%, and that's no wonder why your pockets are under so much pressure. It feels like you're working harder and harder and ended up with less and less. And that is why people saying, oh gosh, I can't catch myself. You ever hear people saying that recently? Oh gosh, I can't catch myself. The money ain't stretching enough. This is not bad luck, you know, like they would like us to believe. This is not bad luck. This is not a global phenomenon that magically missed other countries and hit Trinidad and Tobago. Because, you know, we like to say God is a Trini. And if God is a Trini, how come he allowed this to slip and mess us up? When other Caribbean islands are reporting growth, we are in a steady decline. And so what we have to ask is, why do we think this has happened? And there's only one answer. These are a result of bad governance, lack of planning, poor economic management, and a refusal to listen to the people. It is clear also that this THA administration has absolutely no clue how to take us out of this economic hardship that we are in. Because a Buju Banton concert at this time, as welcome as entertainment might be, is not the answer. Not when families cannot afford groceries. Small businesses are collapsing under the weight of poor planning and zero support. Losing case after case and burning millions of your dollars in court over vindictiveness, ego, and ill-conceived lawsuits, that is not the answer. Jetting off on overseas trips and conferences every Monday morning while roads in the east remain impassable, while schools remain in disrepair, and while farmers still cannot access basic supplies, that is not the answer. Pushing personalities over policies and putting petty politics before real people, that is not the answer. Cancelling projects out of spite because they were started by another administration, that is not leadership. That is reckless, and it comes at your expense, the people's expense. Offering handouts instead of opportunities, hampers instead of hope, that is not how you build a future. Abandoning the tourism sector, and Kay would tell you, no clear strategy, no real investment in long-stay tourism, no master plan for development. That is a recipe for stagnation, and that is why we're not going anywhere. You cannot be telling me that after the airport build, you're waiting on Trinidad, the national, to tell you how to operationalize the airport. You're flying off to Germany all the time, all these conferences, and we are not minding our own business in Tobago about how we're going to operationalize that facility there and have it not be a white elephant. Yes, we have concerns with how the supposed, and I call it unveiling of a plaque, because that terminal ain't ready yet. So the unveiling of a plaque, yes, there are problems with how things have been going on. But if this THA was minding their business, they would have forced meetings with the airport authority to ensure that the people of Tobago have been protected in that deal for the airport. How many Tobagonians are going to have businesses in the airport? How many of those people who have been doing their Beneball and and all of those sugar cakes, how are we ensuring, or have they, any of them been guaranteed a spot inside of there after generations of being at Old Airport site? And so they're also ignoring the agriculture sector, while food prices rise and skyrocket, and Tobago becomes more dependent on imported foods. That is a direct blow to our food security. And let us not forget the brain drain. Many young people, skilled workers, are leaving in droves, leaving with their degrees and diplomas, migrating just to survive, because they see no space for growth here. They either can't get a job, or they're just not utilized with their skills that they have been trained to do. So I ask, is this the Tobago that was promised to us? And don't tell me that they can't fix it in 3 years. We didn't expect you to fix everything in 3 years, but show us something you actually fix now. And the inevitable result, they ask themselves why. But the inevitable result of that is skyrocketing crime, both violent and white-collar crime. If you don't have a proper engaged education system, crime, of course, will be out of control. That is not rocket science. Simple cause and effect. And when the people have no proper access to proper education, no pathway to decent work, they get desperate. I understand right here in Tobago, people are entering neighbors' yards and stealing things from their cars. Tobago has gotten to an all-time low. Yeah? And if we don't address some of these things, and it's not just Tobago, it's in Trinidad also. And so when politicians also begin to loot the treasuries, and I say treasuries as plural, with no conscience, while everyday citizens struggling to buy bread, tell me, what kind of message is that sending? So, let's bring it home. We have a full-blown crisis in Tobago. 82% dependency on the Trinidad economy to fund our budget. Private sector is weak, meaning our economy relies on government jobs. 70% of workers in Tobago are employed with the government under low productivity conditions, slow innovation, and no room for, like I said, innovation and a lack of resilience. And to make it worse, we are losing our talent. Yeah? Skilled workers went from 19% in 2022 to 16% today. They headed off to build somebody else's island or build somebody else's country. How many friends do you have that left Tobago to go to Trinidad or go internationally, whether it's the UK or America, to find a way of surviving? But what was the THA response? No plan, no strategic plan, no serious effort to turn this around. So the tourism sector can't turn around because there's no master plan. We're still following the wrong tourism model, one that does not empower our communities, our creatives, or our culture. It is time we look at the Castara model and understand community-led initiatives are what are going to be taking us forward. The Castara model is telling us that, and we have to start looking at other ways that we can have community-led initiatives and not have Big Brother coming from across the waters to instruct us about what we need to do about our tourism product. No, that can no longer work. So, with our economic collapse, we talk about the crime. Yeah, we talk about the increase in gangs in communities that once felt safe and the social breakdowns. These are not just alarming bells, the fire burning. But like they say, it burning down, but we still fetting. We have a social crisis on our hands, a governance crisis and a crisis in leadership. And Trinidad is not any better with the virtual collapse of the economy there and the uncertainty in our energy sector and a lack of true diversification across the country. And so we have ended up with weak institutions and an autocratic type leadership in this country that is not taking us anywhere. And so, what do we need? We can't go along anymore with this autocratic way of leadership and system in this country. We need comprehensive reform of the national parliament and comprehensive reform of the THA. We need a new system that puts the people first. Not egos, not party, but also not your 1%. Okay? And that is why we are sending these twins, and I love to call them twins, to Trinidad to start dealing with these issues and being a voice for us in Parliament on those issues. But who is to blame? There must be somebody to blame for all of this, right? Who is to blame? Yeah? The answer is clear. The incumbents are to blame. And like I said, if you give them a work to do what they have to do, you give one a 10-year contract and you give one a 5-year contract and the work not being done, what are you supposed to do? Just continue paying them? That is happening in your house? If the contractor, if the person you hired come to work, right, and they're not doing your work, do you just continue paying them for no work? Or do you fire them and get somebody new who can do the work? Okay, your choice. Okay? So, what do we have? They came to do the work, promises made, promises not kept, promises not materializing. And they have abandoned the agenda for THA reform in Tobago. The TPP said it was not their responsibility, not their jobs. And when questioned further, they say democracy is too bureaucratic. That was the Chief Secretary. Democracy is too bureaucratic. Why? Because it means that it gets in their way of having full power. And that tells you, the leadership that we have is drunk with power. Okay? They cannot be trusted with your future. They want power while we want change. They want control while we want progress. But what you have to do is stay calm. Actively listen, pause and reflect. Use your evidence, not emotion. Ask yourself, are you satisfied with the results the last 5 years in Tobago? Are you satisfied with those with the last 5 years in Trinidad? And if your answer is no, then they have to vote for real change. Change of a system of government and governance of economic structure is what we need to bring your voice into Parliament. Because when Kay and Gerard get there, they're not going to be serving any party in government, they're going to be serving you. They will not be asking for prime minister position or cabinet position that compromises their voices. They will be your voice, unfiltered, unmuzzled, and unfettered. They will fight for constitutional reform with an elected Senate that really works for the people. Because right now, the Senate belongs to the ruling party. And therefore, you need a Senate that also belongs to the people. They need to fight for greater autonomy for Tobago and laws that reflect Tobago's uniqueness in that law and not just carte blanche that does not take into consideration Tobago and having Tobago be a footnote. We need a stronger system of economic empowerment for community with a Bill of Rights enshrined in the Constitution so so the communities will have their resources regardless of who is in power or in politics. It does not affect them because they have it enshrined in the law that they have been guaranteed these resources. And so we need them to go to Parliament together, because a motion is only as strong as the one who seconds the motion. Remember when A&R Robinson and Dr. Murray went to Trinidad and we've got our first THA Act, it was between the two of them that we were able to get it. Okay? One moved the motion, the next one seconded it. And so we have to do things differently. If we don't do things differently, we will not have a different result. So, what do you have to do? Vote to empower yourselves and your community. Vote to bring about development in your community. Vote for real integrated tourism development plan, one that uplifts the community and not just foreign investors. Vote for community-led agriculture and fishing initiatives. Vote for modern, relevant education and skills training for your youth. Vote to grow your own creative industries. Vote for youth entrepreneurship and small business development. Vote for land, houses, and infrastructure that meets your needs. Vote for community leadership in crime prevention and safety. Vote for healthy, happy, safe spaces that attract global investment to right here in Tobago. Vote for access to develop finance, not dependence. In other words, vote for the IDA. So, let's be clear. The PNM will not make that change. We have 70 years of evidence. The TPP will not make that change. They are already showing signs of the same behavior. So I say to you today, join the real fight for effective change. Vote for the IDA team. A true balance of power happens when people, the government, and the economy work in harmony. But when the people are shut out of the process, the government does what it wants and the economy begins to fail. So to stabilize the economy, we have to bring the people back into the process through true constitutional reform. So let's go back to where we started. Democracy is not a vote for a party. It's a vote for the country and the type of country you want to live in. It's not about tradition, it's about the future. Democracy is not just casting a ballot. It is claiming your power to choose the kind of Tobago and the kind of Trinidad and Tobago you want to wake up in tomorrow. Today, I want to speak to the undecideds. The ones who voted red because their family always has. The ones who never voted. The ones watching from the sidelines and waiting for a reason to believe again. Well, this is it. In every generation, there comes a moment where people must decide. Do we follow the same path that led us to nowhere? Or do we blaze a new trail? That is this moment. That is this election. It's not about party colors. It's not about right and wrong. It's about working systems versus broken ones. It's about having leaders who serve you, not ones who only remember you at election time. A strong democracy requires an informed voter, not just a loyal one. It means asking the hard questions. Who listening to you? Who have the plan? Who has who delivered in crisis? And who just playing politics with your life? I'm not asking you to betray your history. I'm asking you to protect your future. We have had allegiances, but at some point, we must outgrow loyalty when it no longer serves the people. Because parties are tools, but democracy is your home. And right now, Tobago doesn't need more loyalty. Tobago needs leadership. IDEA is the only team offering that leadership right now. No distractions, no gimmicks, just real solutions grounded in service. Tobago needs leadership with the vision, the values, and the voice to lead this rescue. That's why we have chosen the twins, Gerard and Kay, not just for their balance and brilliance, but because their mission is your mission. Two voices, one mission, one heart, one Tobago, SOS. You've seen the facts, you've heard the truth, you know in your heart the IDA is the only choice, the only team with enough courage to say enough is enough, and the blueprint to fix it. So on April 28th, go out and vote in your overwhelming numbers. Put your X next to the IDA, because we are 60,000 strong, and if we move as one, nothing can stop this rescue. So I ask you, will you answer the call? Will you rise up in your community for your future? Will you show this island, show up for this island, and say loud and proud, yes, we will save our space. Tobago needs the leadership that we have now. Gerard Balfour in Tobago East and Kay Trotman in Tobago West. Tobago needs the IDA. The heart sign that recognizes your fingerprints implies we are individuals working together in love. This is our space. This is our future. This is our mission. I love you, and may God bless you and bless all of us with the way forward, progress, prosperity, and power in the hands of the people. I thank you.
Let me thank you all so much, and I'll now ask the media to field questions to our two candidates. So I'll ask the two candidates to join us here, please. Yeah, up, down, and then we know what you come along, come.
On this side, rather than mine, or in front of it. You want to shift?
Just shift the podium.
You know what, I'll just move it behind me. He's forward, one step forward. Right.
Step forward,